What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Brave and Faithful podcast. I'm your host, Radian Dionisio, and today I have a very special guest, someone who I've known in the past couple of years just through a great foundation called the FitOps Foundation. He is a Marine veteran, and he's also a coach with Body Revision Fitness. I have none other than Jake Howard. What's going on, brother?
Oh, I'm living the dream, man. I'm excited to be here. I haven't been a guest on too many shows. I've been more just yelling on mine.
Well, I appreciate you taking the time, man. Myself, I'm just getting back into the whole podcast thing, so I appreciate you taking the time and being on here.
Yeah, not a problem. Anytime.
So, like I said, you're a Marine. Well, you're a Marine. Always a Marine, right?
Till death, baby.
So, what did you do as a Marine? What was your job?
I was a rifleman in the 3rd Battalion, 7th Marines at a beautiful 29 Palms.
How long were you in the service for?
I did just under 4 years. They introduced that 3-month get out early program as we were getting there, but I got out like a month and a half early instead of 3, so just under 4 years.
And then during that time, what was the time frame, like as years? Did you make deployments and things like that?
Yeah, I got in June 19th of 2006, and I got out May 7th, 2010. And I went to Ramadi in 2007, and then got back, did another workup, and we went to HIT, also in Al Anbar, in 2008 to 2000 into the new year 2009.
So you made more than one combat deployments out there. So what would you say was your biggest takeaway from your time with the Marines?
Well, my biggest takeaway from the time with Marines is if you really want to make a team work, you can make a team work no matter who's in it.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to have your weak links and your, outstanding superstars, but if you're really going to work together, you have to find the strengths even in your weak links to make your unit flow. Like me, for example, I've always been loud. I've always questioned authority, even, after it was, quote unquote, beat out of me. But I think that was used as a double check rather than a hindrance for the most part.
Yeah, but I think that's just the best part about the military in general, right? Like we all come from different backgrounds and different cultures and things like that, and then you just put us all together in one room or one environment, and when things like literally shit hits the fan, and everybody comes together.
Yep, and you know that you can work together because you all know your job.
Right.
I'm from corn growing Central Illinois. So, I grew up and there wasn't too much racial diversity.
Yeah.
And especially being in the infantry, you go in and you get to meet somebody from everywhere. And you get to learn a whole lot about what you have not seen. That's when you all get to hate life together is like one.
Right. You all get to embrace the suck, so to say.
Yep.
So, you mentioned you did about 4 years, you did 2 combat deployments. You were in 29 Palms. How was your transition from the service, and what led you to basically what you're doing now?
My transition from the service was not good.
Okay.
It was probably better than what it could have been, but I moved out to Tempe, Arizona originally with a bunch of guys from my unit, and we all, tried college and got jobs. But as they started to wind down and, settle down and find significant others to spend time with, for me, the party didn't end. And so, I got into, I've been drinking heavy since I was 18. And just because that's what I thought you did. I thought that was the, you know, and then when I got out of the Marines, it's like, it's okay that I'm still drinking heavy and like this. I'm a veteran. And you know, I had a little bit of what they call, what I call entitled veteran syndrome.
Right.
Where you'll see it a lot with people when they first get out. Some people don't get out of it, but they believe that just because they did, you know, a piece of time in the service, that they're owed everything for the rest of their life, and woe is me, and
Yeah, like I should get that free meal or whatever.
give me that hero love for the rest of my life. And
Right.
that's hubris, I think, is the word I'm looking for, and ignorant.
Yeah.
But I got into fancy white powders. I was a big MDMA and cocaine fan. I moved back to Illinois, got off the fancy white powders, but I kept drinking real heavy. Moved down to southern Texas to work in the oil industry after about just under a year back in Illinois, where I'm from. And I think like the second year I was in Texas, I attempted to commit suicide. Got arrested at a gas station because I was my suicide attempt failed, and I decided to walk to the gas station and buy cigarettes. But I was just way messed up, and then I tried to, you know, commit suicide by cop kind of thing, and fight the sheriff's deputies. And
Yeah.
then I freaked out because they were wearing those green jumpsuits, and I thought I was getting kidnapped by like the Iranians or something. So I started like yelling in Arabic and only answering, you know, Corporal Jacob D. Howard and my social. And it was a weird time, man. And I got lucky. I got really, really lucky. I don't have a criminal record. And they said, listen, here's what we could charge you with. But if you say I'm guilty right now and pay your fine, we'll only charge you with this. And I said,
Yeah.
I'll take the public intox. Here's my money. Have a great day. You know. But
so you went through all that, and like what led you, or how did you come out of it?
I had my last alcoholic beverage on December 5th, 2016. And that was after I put one of my dogs down, and it was a Not Your Father's root beer. Not the best thing in the world. At the time I was, and I'm extremely grateful for this, but I was living in a room in my buddy's garage.
Yeah.
And I was, you know, just fat and depressed and gross. I had that last beer after I put my dog down, and I didn't even finish it. I didn't want it anymore. There was nothing fulfilling about it. There was nothing fulfilling about it for years. And it just took me a long time to realize it. And the next day I went and started going to the gym in my hometown called Pure Fitness in Victoria, Texas. I just started going every day. And I did a fair bit of DDP yoga to get my body back to where it could move. Because, I mean, I'm 5'8.5" on my best days. And I was like 310, 315-ish. Like you could roll me down a hill standing up fat.
Wow.
And
how did you get pulled into the gym? Like, did somebody invite you, or
no,
you just decided to go by yourself?
Yeah, I mean, I've always been kind of health conscious, as backwards as that sounds. I come from a family that has a lot of heart issues and diabetes, and on my dad's side, especially, his cousins are rotund folk. My dad ate himself into type 2 diabetes.
Wow.
And, you know, so it's something I was like, I don't ever want to be those people. You know, I guess I'm fat phobic in 2020 politically correct terms. But I don't ever want to be that, you know, because it's, you know, everything on, they always had something to complain about, how they were hurting and blah, blah, blah. But it's like,
Yeah.
Of course you're hurting. You're round as a goddamn ball. Like, what do you expect?
Right.
Your joints are going to kill you. So I'd been an athlete my whole life on top of the infantry. And I knew that I needed to really start taking care of myself. So I went back, and then about 4 or 5 months into it, I actually hired a personal trainer to do some thinking for me for a while. And that was cool. And then as I started to lose weight, I said, I initially lost like 50 pounds, like it was nothing. My body was like, thank you.
Right.
You're not poisoning me anymore, and we can let some of this shit go. And then I saw how this guy and the other trainers were working and how they cared about people. And I said, I care about people. So I went and got certified in some hurry up and get certified, hooray, personal training cert, and started hunting for clients down there down in Victoria. And then the people that were letting me live in that room in their garage were getting ready to move back to Illinois for his wife was getting promoted. Mm-hmm. And so I needed to find a place to go. So I moved to Pflugerville, Texas with my buddy Jeremy Lyrock, who I served with in 3-7. And I started going to this gym that was about 45 minutes away because, if you've ever been to Texas, everything good's, far away from you, no matter what. And not that there's not great gyms in Pflugerville, all right? I'm going to give some love to the Metroflex in Austin and Big Tex Gym, okay? But I was a House of Gains guy. And I started going out there, and I was, I should start training here. But, when you start in-person training, you're not exactly pulling in the cash because no one knows who you are. And they haven't, So I got a job working the front desk at the Golds by my house. I got a job working security and doing bar back stuff at Mavericks Dance Hall, which is hilarious as a sober person to do. And I eventually worked my way to a point. Oh, and I was selling the sister brand of Performance supplements, doing demo rep stuff.
Right.
For a while. Oh, I totally skipped over FitOps.
It's all good.
But yeah, so about 2 or 3 months after living in Pflugerville, I had applied for this Mission Next Dallas thing on a whim because a friend of mine had said, hey, look into this. Performance is doing a not-for-profit for veterans. And I said, well, this sounds like a scam to get me to sell supplements. And he said, I don't know, it's pretty legit. I know the rep pretty well, and he wouldn't, I don't think the company would do stuff like that. And I said, okay, whatever. And I applied.
And that was the first class, right? You were in the first? Yeah.
I am one of the OGs.
One of the OGs, yep.
Yeah. But yeah, that was wonderful. Sure, there was bumps in the road because it's the first time you ever do something in a foundation with a bunch of veterans that don't know each other, and but it was an eye-opening experience. It was that class was actually more focused on PTSD and sobriety than sure there's elements of that in FitOps now. That was like the purpose of that class on top of fitness. Hmm. So I went to this class and I was like, Jesus, there's a bunch of people just like me who have all kinds of, they couldn't handling civilian life isn't the easiest thing in the world. Right. There's way more than me out there. So went through the FitOps class, became one of the first CVFOs before it was a CVFO title to ever exist, and it was great. I even went back and visited the second class because my bodybuilding coach at the time was there. So went and saw them, and
yeah.
But because of FitOps, I became a better personal trainer and learned how to coach.
Right.
Because I grew up in a very Christian home, so caring for other people is a big deal to me. even though I've kind of fallen away from the church. And
Yeah, you still have that in you. Like
I mean, I grew up with a life of service.
Right.
Because, you know, a life in service of others it's a fulfilling life.
Yeah. And
helping other people, for lack of a better term, get their shit together is super rewarding.
Most definitely, man. So for those of you guys just joining in, talking to Jake Howard, Marine veteran, talking about his overcoming his obstacles of drug use, being overweight, and then how he became a personal trainer, and then through FitOps was helping other veterans who have gone through that same scenario. Hey Jake, so for those that are listening right now, they could probably like relate to some of the things in your story, right? What are some of the things that you can, I guess, give some advice to as far as like how did you overcome those obstacles, and what did you do?
So I've been more invested in the sober community lately, and there's obviously more than one way to skin a cat. How I discovered that I was done. You know, it wasn't through going to rehab. It wasn't through working a program, you know, something like AA. It was, you know, I realized that I wanted to die, which made no sense. I was just, and then I was able to crunch the numbers real quick. And so, you know, what's causing this? And it was just, you're drunk all the time, moron. How about you give that up and see how that goes?
Right.
And so for me, that was the way, like me trying to kill myself and then failing at it and then still trying. That one night, that was a really, really big wake up call.
Was that like your aha moment, or like just?
Yeah, I had and I wouldn't even call it my rock bottom, really. But it was definitely, it's going to get worse if you don't stop now. And I think that once you hit your rock bottom, or you have that realization that, oh, this is going to get worse if you keep this up, then go seek help in whatever way you need to seek it. Not everybody's going to be able to do what I did, which was just like, I'm done. And that's not saying that I don't, like, I was last week, I looked over at my fiance and I said, I want a glass of scotch.
Yeah.
You know, like, just the urges are still there. Like, if you were to ask me about, you know, like cocaine or Molly, I'd say I'd do it right now. You know, but it's I avoid those scenarios and where that kind of stuff would be. But when it comes to alcohol, I had a job in a bar. I respect people's right to go out and have a few, or maybe a few more than a few, because that's their life. That's not my life. So, and sometimes people can't do that. Sometimes people have to avoid stuff 100%.
Yeah.
And that's just fine. You got to live your life, and the people that are meant to be in your life will respect you and the choices you make.
Most definitely.
And if, you know, the people in your life don't, they're not meant to be there.
Right. 100%, man. I agree with that. You got to have a great support system around you to make
Absolutely.
sure you don't fall to the wayside. So,
and even if you don't have a great support system, we live in a really cool time where the information is at your fingertips always.
Right.
You can hop on a Google machine and find a, you know, Alcoholics Anonymous, or, you know, support group for recovering addicts, or find a rehab center or like a halfway house in your area anytime. So, I mean, if you really, really, really want to beat your addiction and get better, there's really no excuse.
What's been the most rewarding moment or experience you've had in your second service?
I helped a lady that really couldn't walk do full barbell squats. We got her working and mobile enough to where she could like bend and stretch and touch her toes. And
Wow.
I mean, there's more than one. I did my first bodybuilding prep myself. That was really cool.
How long ago was that?
Oh Christ. 2016, 2017. Brittany yelled at me.
So you did that all by yourself? How long was that? How long was the whole process?
I did like 4 months. Because I'd been steady losing weight for like 2 years up at this point. And I was just like, I'm going to do a show. Nothing's going to stop me. I'm going to cut down all the way and let's just see let's see how it goes. So, I mean, in between YouTube and Google, I figured it out. Was I incredibly much a flat string bean on stage? You betcha.
Yeah.
But I mean, I did it. You know, I went from 310, 315 to I was like 143, 144 pounds on my first stage. You know,
man, that's awesome, man. I applaud you for that. And you know, not too many people can go up there and do what you do and basically be judged by other people based on, you know, how you look or whatever. But that was one of the things that you wanted to do, and you took action and you did it yourself, right? That's one of the hardest things, just doing it yourself. But you found a way.
I will admit that I am at times incredibly too stubborn for my own good. And I really have to be convinced sometimes that the person I'm listening to is worth listening to. And that's always been my blessing and my curse.
All right.
It's, I can figure this out. I'll figure it out. Why would I ask for help? I can figure it out. And until it comes to time, it's like, yeah, you need some assistance on this project, sir.
That's awesome, man. All right, guys. Hey, so if you guys, again, just joining us, talking to Jake Howard, coming up to the last part of the interview here. Jake, what's one thing you want our listeners or viewers want to take away from this episode?
I want people to know that no matter what their struggle is, even if they're just civilian people listening and having a good time, you can find a way to get what you need to get done. There's all kinds of people out there that have been through similar, if not almost to a T exact things you've been. And they are willing to, through their experience, help you get your life where it needs to go. I don't even necessarily want to say on track, because not everyone's, addicted to something goofball. But sometimes people, when you don't have a direction, need to find somebody that is their guiding light on their dark path, So there's always someone out there. I'll even throw it out there. You can hit me up. I'll talk to you. Because that's what I do all day. Anyway, I love it. It doesn't even have to be about fitness. I'll talk to you about anything. That's fine. We'll talk. And if I can't help you, I more than likely may know somebody that can, and I can point you in the right direction. And that's how I deal with fitness too. If you hit me up and you say, hey, I want you to be my coach, and I say, well, tell me about yourself, I'll say, you know what? I know somebody that's way better at that than me. Here's their number and here's their info. Tell them that Jake sent you.
Yeah, you guys might not be the right fit, but at least you know somebody that might be, or that can help that person better or whatnot. Yep. So,
and when it comes to fitness, that's one of the coolest things about the FitOps Foundation. There's graduated CVFOs out there that, I know professional MMA fighters, all the way, CrossFitters and powerlifters and strongmen and bodybuilders, like whatever you want, like yogis.
Right.
Like whatever you need, I got you. Hit me up. I know somebody.
It's awesome, man. All right, coming up to the last segment of the podcast here. So, Jake, this is what I call the Fast Five. It's where I ask my guests 5 questions. Are you ready?
Hit them up.
All right, first, what's one hobby you enjoy?
Lifting.
Lifting, just lifting anything.
Anything.
All right. Second, if you had to choose one person, dead or living, to hang out with or work out with for one day, who would it be and why?
Dorian Yates, because Dorian Yates' style of training is probably some of the most extreme stuff that you'd ever see. And I like to think that I'm hardcore, but I'm definitely not. So
talk about OG. That's one of the OGs.
He was the first mass monster to win the Olympia. And contrary to popular belief, if you look at Dorian Yates when he first started, before his injuries started coming up, he was still pretty balanced and aesthetic for the most part. He was just huge. Right. Then once stuff started tearing, he was like, whatever, I'm just going to get as big as possible.
All right, next question. Recommend a book for our audience to read.
Meditations, Marcus Aurelius.
That's a good one. All right, next question. What's your favorite quote and why?
The only thing that grows in a comfort zone is complacency, and complacency kills.
Man, I love that. I tell that to my sailors all the time. Complacency kills, man.
I mean, that's a standard military.
You see that every time whenever we went on patrol. Like that was like complacency kills.
Yeah, once you get comfortable, that's when dumb stuff happens. Like once you're not paying attention and you're not 100% dedicated to what you're trying to do, that's when you get hurt or your friends get hurt or, things go awry. So it's that constantly keeping your head on a swivel, forcing yourself to learn and be better in anything in life, not just combat, but anything in life. Anything. Always force yourself to learn and be better.
Definitely. All right, last question. What do you see yourself in a year, in 5 years, or even 10 years from now?
In 5 years, I'd like to see myself at about 240 pounds lean and coming damn near close to being an IFBB pro, on top of being a father to 5 and good husband. I'd like to find the balance.
All right, man. That's recorded, Jake. So 5 years from now,
put it out. Cut it in short form and send it to me once a month.
All right, well, Jake, this has been an awesome episode. I appreciate you, first off, for telling your story, your struggles, and then just overcoming all the obstacles that came along the way and just crushing it, man, just in life in general, right? So thank you for sharing your story. One last thing, how can our audience stay in touch with you? Where can they find you?
Oh, you can find me on Instagram and the Twitter machine at Hake Joward, HAKEJOWARD. If you aren't trying to social media it up too much, you can reach out to me on my email, and that's at soberswolepod@gmail.com.
Awesome, man.
And you can also listen to our podcast, the Sober Swole Podcast, on YouTube.
Definitely. And then we'll drop all that stuff on the show notes. Make sure they can click through that and
you're beautiful.
Follow you guys.
You're beautiful. I appreciate you, man.
All right, bro. Hey, I appreciate you for coming on. Like I said, thanks for sharing your story and taking the time, man.
No problem. Anytime.
All right.